three heavies lost some durability. The HP pools of the IS-4, Clanvong, and Maus decreased by 150 points. The turrets of the Soviet and Swedish tanks turned slower. As for the German tank, the dispersion at 100 meters increased slightly. The guns of the British FV-215B and the American T-110E5 heavy tanks now take a second longer to reload.
One of the worst executive decisions ever made by Wargaming was Update 8.2 and the implications behind it. During a Wargaming livestream, it was announced that the heavy tanks would be nerfed, specifically vehicles like the T-110E5, FV-215B Clanvong, due to the fact of their over-presence in comp. The fact that they were played too much in comp, and they made too much of an implication on the role in the battlefield, and they wanted to see more mediums played. So the vehicles like the Patton were buffed, vehicles like the E-50M got their massive engine power. What then doesn't make sense is to completely ignore every reason to why you nerf these heavy tanks, rub salt in all of your wounds, and introduce newer heavies that are stronger than even the pre-nerfed state of all of these vehicles. For example, the T-110E5. With speed boost, it was able to go at a top speed of 43 kilometers per hour. It had 2,650 damage per minute if you were running calibrated shells and 8 degrees of gun depression. Now the new and improved Concept 1B, which is a tank that cost money, well, it goes 45, and that's a permanent speed, not even with an artificial speed boost. It has, you guessed it, 2,650 damage per minute, and because the E5's DPM was nerfed, now it actually has more, due to the fact that it stayed the same. The Concept 1B has 2 more degrees of gun depression at 10 degrees. Its upper plate is actually better than the E5's, and also the same for the side armor and hull down capabilities. The Concept 1B, for all intents and purposes, is better than the E5 in almost any single situation, even before it was nerfed. So the fact that Wargaming nerfed the E5 and then released a premium variant that is better in every way completely baffles me. The IS-4 gets nerfed on its hit point pool and as well turret traverse speed, while at the same time, Wargaming buffs the IS-7 by changing it to a PBR armor profile. And what's even more ironic is that in Wargaming's post on the IS-7's PBR, they said it will not change the armor profile, while in retrospect, it got 35 millimeters of extra spaced armor on the sides, the lower half of it got angled armor, and now the IS-7 is one of the most popular comp tanks for getting in the base captures, rushing enemies. It's got incredible armor, high alpha. Why would you nerf the IS-4 and then buff the IS-7 to a point now where it completely outclasses it? But wait, there's more. To rub even more salt into these already bleeding and hurting wounds, we have the 60 TP, which is kind of like an IS-4. It goes the same top speed at 42 kilometers per hour if you're running improved gear oil, except, oh yeah, it has an extra degree of gun depression. It has a lot more alpha at 600 per shot, and with tungsten shells, you can get up to 690 average damage per shot. It also has better armor on flat ground because of its tiny lower plate. Its upper plate's an auto ricochet to any AP shells on flat ground, and when using the vehicle hull down, the only weak spot you have is a tiny hatch. The 60 TP outclasses the IS-4 in almost every single way. There wouldn't even really be a reason why you could ask me to play an IS-4 when I have a 60 TP sitting in my garage apart from the inaccurate gun. But wait, there's even more. This is just like an infomercial. It keeps going and going. Next up, we have the Clanvong on the chopping block. Now, the Kron lost hit points, and as well, it lost a massive chunk of turret traverse speed to a point now where it's really unenjoyable to run even in public battles. The Kron was a tank that was used in almost every single game, and it was replaced with the M6 Yo. Now, why is the Yo used in placement? Well, not only does it have 3,000 damage per minute, but it also has an extra degree of gun depression sitting at 10. Its mobility is way better, going 35 kilometers per hour, which is the same a Kron goes if it's using speed boost. It also has a way better power to weight ratio. It has a track mechanic that means even even when you get shot in the track wheel and your track is physically broken, you can still reverse your tank at 5 kilometers per hour. Sure, it's not a huge amount of speed, but just the fact that you can be tracked and still get back in the cover makes absolutely no sense. The Clanvong is almost completely outclassed by the M6 in public battles and as well comp. There's really no reason why you would run the Kron. And it shows statistically as well. The Clanvong went from being one of the #1 performing heavy tanks on average damage and win rate in tier 10 to now the worst performing heavy in the entire game at tier 10. The M6 has over a 5% higher average win rate, and it has 300 more average damage. And then there was the 215B. The FE215B, the British tier 10 tech tree heavy tank, is one of the least ground and popular tier 10s in the game. And it's not just now, it was not popular even before when it wasn't nerfed. Sure, the tank had fantastic damage per minute, its gun was probably one of the best tier 10 heavy guns in the game. But a gun does not make or break a vehicle when it comes to a lot of tanks. It's usually the armor profile and mobility. And unfortunately, when it comes to the 215B, it had a terrible hit point pool, it had no armor, and mobility-wise, sure, it had a great power-to-weight ratio, but it only went like 34, 35 kilometers per hour, which isn't really going to cut it when there's vehicles like the IS-7, the WZ-113 that exist that'll just completely outclass it. The 215B was never seen in comp before it was nerfed, and now that it is nerfed, it's not even seen in public battles. Really, all Wargaming did with these nerfs on Update 8.2 was say, here's a bunch of heavy tanks that are very popular, now we're gonna make them not popular. Kaboom, magic trick. And if history is going to repeat itself, which it normally does when it comes to wargaming, the Japanese tier 10 heavy tank known as the Type 71, which could or could not be released by the time you're watching this video, is also going to follow suit by just pushing the E5, the FE215B Clanvong further down the list, and the Type 71 is going to be right up at the top next to the 60 TP. It's fast, it's got great haul down capabilities, fantastic armor, and a really solid gun, at least in its current testing state, and even if it gets nerfed, I can't see in any world where it won't be better than the current heavies that we have in tier 10, apart from the #1 like the Concept and the 60 TP. So yeah, it's just going to push the other heavies further down the list. Wargaming is going to continue doing this over and over because I doubt they'll ever buff the older heavies that they nerfed. When it comes to the heavies, I don't think they're bad. I still think that you can get good games out in the IS-4, the Clanvong, or even, if you're lucky, the FE215B. But it's just the fact that Wargaming nerfed these vehicles, trying to make a statement saying, we're going to try and balance out how comp works, how public battles are with the competitiveness of the super popular tier 10 heavies, but then at the same time, we're going to completely contradict what we've said by releasing tier 10 heavies that are better than the pre-nerf state of some of these guys. It makes no sense, and Wargaming really needs to reevaluate their decisions as a company, because if these are continuously made, it will definitely drive them into the ground. The 60 TP is the most used comp tank, and that is no question in my mind that it will continue to be incredibly used until Wargaming might do the same thing and nerf it and release a better version of it in the future, so you have to grind that if you want to be competitive. I don't know what to say. I'm not super happy with the way balancing is currently being performed when it comes to Blitz, but only the future can tell us what will be held. Let me know what you guys thought about today's video. If you enjoyed it, please consider smashing that subscribe button down below. And if you have the same frustrations at me, let me know in the comments. Bye-bye.